The Charles Hoskinson in relation to PulseChain thing has continued to get weird. I don't know that it was well. Okay, so I think he saw that there's an ADA on PulseChain, and I think Shill Gates has been tweeting about it. I mean, I know obviously a lot of people have. That's what people are going to do. It's crypto. And Shill Gates obviously had that shouting match. Well, he wasn't really shouting or anything, but he actually went up on stage in a Spaces, yeah, and was. I don't know what he's really apologizing about, but just that there are people I wouldn't have apologized, but that there are people within PulseChain that, can be a little bombastic and in your face. And, and then Charles took that to just tear down Richard Hart even more. I mean, he just was like, well, I hear that you're apologizing. I thank you for that. But here's why I hate Richard Hart and your whole community, and just continue to go on about that and misrepresent everything that's going on with it. I mean, he personally very much just has distaste for Richard Hart. He doesn't like him. He talks about the way, obviously he just saw the outrage marketing and thinks that that's who he is, and he hates him for it and all these different things. And borders on slanderous stuff actually about PulseChain. But Charles just making this worse for himself at this point. He continues to talk about it. He has a hard on for this ecosystem. And I don't think the cease and desist letter is real. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if Charles really said. I also saw a tweet that looked like he said to Shill Gates, I'll be contacting my attorneys or whatever. I don't know if that was real either. So you never know what you're seeing anymore these days. But I know that he's still mixing it up with PulseChain people because I heard it. I watched it on that space. Yeah. So yeah, what do you make of it? I mean, it's more free advertising for us, and if he is butthurt over the ADA on PulseChain thing, I mean, you know, here's what I said to you the other day. What can tell us everything we need to know about Cardano being irrelevant right now? The fact that he is so pissed off about an ADA copy on PulseChain. If your chain was really that substantial and people were really flocking to it, who would give a fuck about it? It wouldn't be an issue,
Yep. And what's funny is what I just said a little bit ago of the new people that are coming over and trying to troll the community and then getting welcomed in, and they're now having fun. A lot of those guys are coming from the ADA community. It's kind of funny. So yes, there is some resentment there. There's a lot of people that that suspect that Charles had something to do with the case against Richard. Maybe he was kind of behind it in one way or another to take the heat off of his friends. And I find that very ironic that he supports CZ even though he was arrested, and there was a lot of things that happened that were illegal. Guy spent time in jail, but he was set up, but they're friends and he knows him well enough to know that that wasn't real. However, he can't even fathom the idea that Richard is in possibly the same boat where he's been set up, or he's kind of being railroaded into it. The guy goes in and says we're a cult, and after Shill Gates kind of apologized and said, listen, this is why we've been attacked. We've been ever since this thing launched, we've been, abused by everybody that just hates Richard. Whether the coins have done great things, yes, they pulled back, but so did everything else. Trying to kind of make it right, I guess. But after that, I would have basically just gave him the big FU and, taken, and I think he kind of did that. He's like,
Shill Gates pretty much did publicly on Twitter very hard.
Now I'm not even apologizing to you. I want to say big, either way. So, I think we live rent free in his head now. It just gives more reason to want to pump this token on PulseChain and surpass it. I think it's like 200x away. I haven't looked at it within the last few days, but not far off anyway. It wouldn't take a whole lot of, because I don't think there's a whole lot of liquidity in there. We could easily get it to the price and surpass it, I think. So but we just, like I said, we live rent free, and it is a shame because he's more worried about this than I see him talking about his own stuff or whatever's going on there, or out hunting, doing whatever retreat he's at, or hunting. He was hunting buffalo or something like that. The last I had seen.
Yeah, he's out in Montana, I think, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
Wyoming, I forget.
one
Yeah,
of those two.
I was confused as to. But yeah, it's honestly kind of unfortunate. Yeah, it's very odd that he's letting it go to his head this badly. And again, I think it is just because that there's just not a lot of relevancy with Cardano. Otherwise, why would you be so pissed off about some
Right.
obviously clearly fake bullshit token when you have all this other stuff going for you supposedly, and the political stuff that he's been chosen for and things like that, and he's cozied up with the Ripple people whenever he needed it and stuff. It's just like, when does Charles need something? That kind of
Yeah.
seems like what the trend has been with him, unfortunately. So if you
Well,
are a Cardano,
he's the last person I want to see in politics, because of obviously how unfairly he treats people without evidence. So
yes,
go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut
just
you off there.
judging books by its covers and flying
Yeah.
off the handle about it. Yeah. And if you are a Cardano person that maybe is catching this later on or something like that, I mean, like, we obviously welcome you here. We've really never had anything to say about Cardano whatsoever. It's just been that whenever Hoskinson has been prompted, and maybe by somebody that wasn't the most savory person on earth or whatever from the PulseChain community, but when he's been prompted about Richard Hart, he has spoken out of turn, like he does. And it may just be that he doesn't know what he's talking about and isn't educated on what's going on, but then don't talk about it then. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Why continue to go on about it, especially when you could actually be saying lies. Like, you'd literally be lying about what you're talking about and spreading stuff that isn't actually true. So yeah,
He thinks he's well, he is intelligent. The problem
yeah,
is he thinks he knows everything, but he doesn't like the fact of somebody wearing a Louis Vuitton or tracksuit or Gucci tracksuit or whatever it was, and not realizing that it was all marketing. He didn't like it. Well, a lot of the community didn't like it, but we still don't think that he's done a lot of the things that he's being accused of. And the majority of it is only civil cases. So until this whole red notice thing goes away, or until the SEC lawsuit goes away, and then the other one can be dealt with, this is where we're at. So
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. There will be a time where Charles does need something and may ironically come knocking, So, it's weird to see. And it's also weird that he equates like being dumb with wearing those clothing, supposedly, or something like, and he starts every sentence with like, I've been in this industry now for 15 years and what I can tell you. And it's just like, come on, man. It's just so condescending every single time. But
right.